look out the back window and I can see a tornado coming down the fairway.
I said, get in a secure room. And that's when the phone went dead.
I started to hear the train that everybody talks about. I thought, okay, here we go.
It was like a bomb had gone off, like the home that exploded.
I was just like frozen, thinking they're dead. There's no way they're alive.
There's no way they could have lived through that.
From the Weather Channel, this is Storm Stories Tornado Week with meteorologist Jim Cantori.
August 18th, 2005. South central Wisconsin is about to make history. Residents here will see more tornado activity today than they usually see in a year. It starts in the early afternoon, when weather conditions turn favorable for twister formation. At 2:51 p.m., the National Weather Service issues a tornado watch. Then at 4:55, the first of 27 funnels touches down. At 6:15 p.m., the only F3 tornado of the day spins from the sky. With winds estimated at up to 200 miles an hour, the slow-moving funnel creeps east from just south of Madison toward the rural community north of Stoughton.
Man, oh man. It's heading right towards Stoughton.
The deadly funnel leaves behind a 20-mile-long, nearly half-mile-wide path of destruction. Among the hardest hit areas, a group of newly built homes along the Stoughton Country Club's golf course. Moments after the tornado passes, family and friends rush to what's left of the neighborhood. A husband searches for his wife, a mother for her children. Less than 2 hours earlier, many here had never even seen a tornado, and the wreckage it leaves behind. 5 p.m. Ann Metzler and her 3-year-old son, Caden, are in the family minivan running errands.
We were gonna go to the Target store, and we were almost there, and I heard a siren go off in Madison. So I called my sister-in-law on my cell phone to see what was going on, and she said we should get home because there's been tornadoes in the area.
The Metzler family lives just north of Stoughton, along the country club's golf course. Ann hightails it home and turns on the news. Her neighbor, 34-year-old Betsy McClyman, is watching the news as well, wondering if her softball game will be canceled.
Right up until 5:45, the newscast was saying that there would be severe storms about 40 miles north of Madison. They had nothing coming to Stoughton except for a few rain clouds on the radar.
Her husband Chris arrives home from work and turns on a movie for their 2 daughters, 5-year-old Maddie and 3-year-old Erin. Betsy tells Chris she doesn't want to leave if the game is going to be rained out.
There weren't any messages on the hotline, so I went to the game.
As Betsy walks out the door, Chris starts straightening up the kitchen and washing dishes from the girls' dinner. 6 p.m. Over at the Metzler house, Ann and Caden are eating their dinner of grilled cheese sandwiches in the basement.
We were watching the news, and they were showing the weather patterns and such.
The weather reports still show tornado activity both to the north and west of Stoughton. But Ann can see new storm clouds building over the country club's fairways. She's worried about her husband, Steve, who's playing golf at another course west of town.
I was just finishing up, actually, pretty close to the last hole. And when my wife called me,
I said, gee, I think you should come home because it's kind of getting bad weather. And I was pacing in the basement with the phone.
Then Ann looks out the window again.
I can see a tornado coming down the fairway. And I said, Steve, I think there's a tornado coming straight for our house.
Ann has never seen a tornado, so she's not sure what she's looking at.
It didn't look like a funnel, but it was that big, dark wall cloud that was like vertical from, you know, the landscape up. And I could see the trees were swirling.
She had called and said, there's a tornado heading right for our house. I said, well, get in a secure room. She said, all right, and that's when the phone went dead after that. So then I was really in panic.
Steve jumps into his pickup truck and speeds home.
So as soon as the phone went dead, I told Kate he had to go in the closet, and we went in the closet together, and I got as many cushions from the couch as I could, piled them on top of him.
After I see a tornado coming right at my house, I go in the closet and put clothes on me, pile of clothes on me.
Ann clutches Caden and covers him with her body.
You could hear the wind. It was loud. There was a lot of popping and glass breaking. I think you could feel it a little bit too, kind of a little bit of movement. But I was pretty focused on trying to keep Caden calm. As I started to hear the train that everybody talks about, I thought, okay, here we go.
6:30 p.m. Steve is racing home only minutes behind the tornado.
As I was driving down the road, looking around, I didn't really see nothing but dark clouds, and it might have been tornado, but cars were pulled over, pointing. I was flying by them, trying to get home.
Across town, Betsy McClyman arrives for her softball game and finds out it's canceled. She climbs back into her SUV and starts the short drive home. That's when she realizes just how bad the weather is.
I was driving down the street and I noticed people pointing up at the sky. So I turned and looked and I saw this huge black funnel cloud. And I remember thinking, I've never seen that. I've seen a tornado.
Betsy stops at a teammate's house where a few of the players have gathered. She asks if they've heard about the tornado.
I started calling Chris to see if, you know, there's any weather by our house. And I couldn't get through. I tried twice. And then I started calling our neighbors. And then I couldn't get through to any of our neighbors. And then I called my parents, and they said that, yeah, that there had been a tornado, but they had not heard anything from Chris and the girls. So then I started getting worried.
Betsy runs to her SUV with two teammates right behind her. They tear across country roads littered with downed trees and blown debris. Betsy tries to call her husband again and again, but he doesn't pick up. At 6:45 p.m., Steve Metzler reaches the entrance to his subdivision and speeds down the road toward his house. Or at least, what's left of it.
Come around the corner, and all I see is my house, my chimney, and my wife's car flattened in the garage. And at that point, I couldn't breathe, and I was just like frozen, thinking they're dead. There's no way they're alive.
August 18th, less than 5 miles north of Stoughton, Wisconsin. Steve Metzler pulls up to his demolished house. The last thing he heard from his wife, Ann, was that she could see a tornado out the window.
All I remember seeing my wife's car smushed and thinking, they're dead.
Steve jumps out of his truck and runs toward the rubble.
They came around the corner. It's just like I started to breathe again. It was quite emotional and very earth-shattering as far as, you know, what a person can take.
At that point was when I really let go of everything. I was trying to be strong up until that point, and when I saw him, then I was just, I couldn't believe that we had just been through this.
We were very excited to see each other. My wife was quite hysterical, as you can imagine.
I don't think I fully comprehended everything that had went on.
Steve, Ann, and Caden climb into the truck. When Ann calms down, she tells her husband what happened in the silence after the tornado.
I carried Caden up the stairs, and he was so good. He didn't really say a word the whole time. He wasn't scared, didn't cry. And as we're walking up the stairs, of course, no roof on the house. It's like the worst ransack job you can imagine.
I see the chimney was gone. It was gone. The tornado sucked it up. When I walked up the stairs, I said, "Holy smokes." 6:50 p.m. While the Metzlers are driving away from the chaos, Betsy McClyman and her two softball teammates are driving toward it.
The sky was very blue, and the clouds were kind of this pink cotton candy color, and there were two huge rainbows. And that's when I started to get more concerned, because I've always heard that after a tornado has gone through, it's calm, it's pretty out, and there are rainbows.
Betsy keeps her foot on the gas and takes deep breaths. She tells herself not to worry about her husband Chris and her two young daughters, Erin and Maddie, until she knows what's going on.
I thought that I'm going to look over and I'm going to see that everything's fine.
But when she rounds the corner near her subdivision, the view is anything but fine.
Everything was gone, totally destroyed. And immediately I thought, there's no way they could have lived through that.
A police car blocks the road leading to Betsy's house, so she drives around it. When she gets to the place where her house used to be, it's almost unrecognizable.
It was like a bomb had gone off, is what it looked like. A home that exploded. You know, it kept going through my mind. How could they survive it? How could they be alive through that?
Betsy spots her brother searching through the wreckage. He lives nearby and ran over to help when he saw the twister bearing down. Betsy races toward it. Together they dig and shout the names of Chris, Maddie, and Erin.
We dug through a lot of the rubble and towards the basement, yelling for them and digging for them. You kind of pause because you don't know what you're going to find, but then you think you have to. I mean, you have to find them or help them or be with them if they're buried under it.
For 10 agonizing minutes, she pulls at the rubble, not knowing if her family is alive or dead. Then, one of Betsy's teammates runs to the house with news.
She had to shout at me about 4 times to get my attention and, to let me know that they had gotten out.
A neighbor saw Chris and the girls just after the twister. They seemed unharmed and hitched a ride to Betsy's parents' house.
So then it was just a huge sigh of relief. She said that I was completely white in the face, and I remember I felt like throwing up, after all of that. But was very, very, glad that everyone was okay.
Betsy still is processing what happened when she sees a figure approach. It's her husband, Chris, who has come back to find her. He knew no roadblock would keep her away.
I feel bad thinking for showing up at our house looking for us and, wondering if we were in there or trapped in there or whatever. I mean, what she went through was, a different kind of trauma.
As they look at what's left of their house, Chris explains to Betsy what it was like to be under the tornado. Like his neighbor Ann, Chris had never witnessed a tornado. But when he saw the swirling vertical cloud outside his window, he got himself and his daughters down to the basement. Then he did his best to keep the girls calm.
I think at that point they sort of just feed off of whatever, you know, the parent is doing. I put them both on my lap, and they didn't get frightened until the wind hit. And I mean, then it was hard not to. I was frightened. And they were screaming, but I couldn't really hear them. I could just tell because my hands were on their backs.
After the roar ended, Chris dug his way out, carrying Maddie in one arm and Aaron in the other.
I think stuff was falling and blocking our path again, because I remember I had to set them down at one point, and you know, I head-butted things out of the way and kicked at things. I felt like I was going to come out of my skin almost, and the adrenaline was definitely in overdrive. But that's, I think, a good thing.
Sometimes I wish that I would have been at the house with my family as they went through that. But then you think, no, you don't. You know, the cards were played where everything worked out, where everyone was okay, and you don't want to mess with that.
8 p.m. As darkness falls, word of the F3 tornado gets out. Media from Madison to Milwaukee to Chicago descend on Stoughton and the surrounding areas.
Too many damaged homes to count. That's the quote out of Stoughton as a major storm rips through the area.
Residents take refuge with friends and family, trying to rest before facing the next day.
Well, that night I didn't sleep at all. It's kind of traumatic, and we just kind of heard helicopters flying all night.
When dawn breaks, those helicopters will show a landscape entirely rearranged. Friday, August 19th, south central Wisconsin. The morning light shows the damage left behind by a rash of twisters. A record-breaking 27 tornadoes have churned across the southern part of the state.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you joining us on this Friday. Boy, devastation just wreaking havoc in our area. Stoughton, the hardest hit here in Dane County. In fact, one person was quoted as saying, the sky just exploded.
The F3 tornado that struck north of Stoughton ripped through Dane and Jefferson counties, damaging more than 300 homes and destroying nearly 70. 21 people were injured, 5 hospitalized. 2 lost their lives as a result of the tornado. For the first few days, Steve and Ann Metzler tried to salvage what they could, all the while struggling to accept what happened.
My wife and my son, Caden. Yep, my wife and son, Caden. And they were probably down over here underneath in the closet downstairs, which is where I told her to go.
Oh. In your off your toy room? You're right in there? It's a closet off that. And the room we were in was fine, but in the playroom that we went through, I never even noticed that the ceiling had collapsed. Yeah.
Chris and Betsy McClyman lost most everything as well. But Betsy knows it could have been worse.
What worries me so much is that Chris happened to be doing dishes near the kitchen window that faced here. And he happened to look out the window and saw the funnel cloud coming and got down, got the girls in the basement within 30 seconds, and then right away it just came.
Both families plan to rebuild. They take comfort in knowing that what the tornado took away is nothing compared to what it left untouched.
You never think these things would happen to you. I think we had a false sense of security being in an all-brick house that we'd be safe. It's hard, but, you know, we survived it, too.
You know, the end result was all I wanted, so just that they were safe, nobody was hurt, homes can be rebuilt, things can be replaced.
Sure, it was a lifelong collection of lovely stuff, but that's all it is stuff.
We are anxious to get Caden back to his normal life and routine and say, okay, this happened to us, but you know, we're just gonna rebuild it and we'll be fine.
That nasty tornado, next time I'll see him, I'll get a cap and shoot my cap gun at him. Then I'll throw a block at him. Boy, that tornado will feel that. Yeah.
How can you protect your family from a tornado? We'll tell you when Storm Stories returns. How can you protect your family from a tornado? First, learn your community's warning system and discuss it. Every individual should know what to do in case the entire family isn't together. Pick a safe place in your house, in the lowest, most interior portion. If you live in a mobile home, plan to take cover at a nearby sturdy structure. No matter what, if you hear a tornado coming, act right away. Tornadoes move quickly and blow debris at very high speeds. Flying debris can be just as deadly as the funnel cloud itself. For Storm Stories, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori. Your local forecast is next.
This is the worst storm in the history of the